My name is Ruth Brown. I'm a clinical psychologist and a researcher at Virginia Commonwealth University, and I'm also an incoming Strong Minds clinical director at Special Olympics Virginia. I want to talk about how we can move beyond documenting loneliness to actively building the conditions that protect against it. We know that loneliness is a problem. In the general U.S. population, about 15% of adolescents and adults report elevated loneliness. In our NIH-funded study of adolescents and adults with Down syndrome, we found that number was 42%, nearly 3 times the general population rate. And we also found that loneliness was strongly correlated with both depression and anxiety in this sample. Loneliness is not just a feeling. It impacts our physical health. Study after study has shown that chronic loneliness triggers a biological cascade. Our brains process chronic loneliness as a lack of safety and social threat, and over time, it produces measurable changes, elevated cortisol, altered gene expression, brain atrophy, increased amyloid burden, and chronic inflammation. These biological changes drive the health outcomes that we see. Depression, anxiety, Alzheimer's disease, and cardiovascular disease, to name a few, are all associated with chronic loneliness. And every one of these health outcomes is already a significant concern for people with Down syndrome, independent of loneliness. Loneliness compounds an already elevated risk profile. This is an urgent need for public health intervention. And yet, where we spend most of our research and healthcare resources is on the downstream consequences of loneliness. But what if we also invested upstream to prevent some of this by addressing the loneliness itself and the conditions that produce it? Self-determination theory gives us a framework for doing exactly that. DC and Ryan identified 3 basic psychological needs that every human being requires for well-being. This framework has been replicated across countries, languages, and cultures. It includes competence, which is the experience of mastery. Autonomy is the ability to make choices based on your own values and desires. And relatedness is the experience of worth, bonding, and genuine significance to others. I want to emphasize 2 things about this framework. First, relatedness is not just the absence of loneliness. It's an active state of connection to others, of caring for and being cared for by others. Second, and most important, all 3 needs must be supported together. Connection without autonomy, for example, can produce overprotective caregiving that keeps someone safe but doesn't let them make their own choices, and it does not satisfy the need for relatedness. It produces compliance, not connection. Think of these 3 needs as the keystones of a bridge. When any part is weak or crumbling, the bridge collapses. We have been failing to support the needs of people with Down syndrome and other disabilities. The bridge has collapsed, and people fall through it. And what do? We send in rescue boats. We pull people out of the water downstream. We treat depression, we medicate the anxiety, and we react to health crises. But the bridge is still broken, and people keep falling in. If our society continues to exclude people with Down syndrome, no amount of skill building will fight their loneliness. We do have examples of programs that make real, lasting differences. Special Olympics Unified Sports is one of the best examples of a program that supports all 3 basic psychological needs simultaneously while also creating more inclusive communities. Research shows that programs like this significantly improve social competence, life satisfaction, and well-being, reduces depression and problem behaviors. And relatedness is where unified sports is particularly powerful. The program creates genuine reciprocal relationships between teammates with and without intellectual disabilities. Across 9 studies, athletes reported increased social inclusion and more positive self-concepts. And the benefits go in both directions. Partners without disabilities reported improved attitudes and behaviors towards people with disabilities across multiple countries. When you design environments that support all 3 basic psychological needs and include people with and without disabilities, the benefits extend beyond the individual to transform community attitudes, building a more connected society. We have frameworks and we have programs that demonstrate they work. What we need are investments in these programs. We need research to understand precisely how and why so we can scale these solutions globally. We need prospective research on upstream protective factors, not just documenting that people with Down syndrome are lonely, but identifying what buffers against loneliness across the lifespan. We need stigma reduction interventions that go beyond social skills training for the individual and instead redesign environments to support all three basic psychological needs while also addressing community attitudes. Programs like Unified Sports show that this is possible, but we need to scale them up. We also need better measurement tools. We currently lack validated instruments for addressing social connection in people with disabilities, and we cannot improve what we cannot measure. And fourth, we need to center the voices of people with Down syndrome in this research. Our data consistently shows that informant-only methods, where we only ask the caregivers, miss the full pictures of what people are actually feeling. People with Down syndrome are the experts in their own relational and emotional lives. When environments are designed to support all three needs, when people have genuine autonomy, real opportunities to build competence, and authentic relationships where they feel valued, the bridge holds. People can walk across it, but they also have to walk into communities where they belong. Loneliness is not inevitable. It's a consequence of environments, and we have the knowledge and tools to redesign them, and what we need is the commitment to implement them. I'll end with a word from Catherine Mary Costanzo, the community outreach specialist in my lab, the Hope Lab.
When I feel included, I feel happy, not alone, and healthier. We need more opportunities and activities so that we can be more connected with our communities. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Next is Kun Kun.